Will you sign it?
I don't sign bananas.
We've got a strict no banana autograph.
This is your banana. Okay.
Yeah,
And
sign it
you-
with a magic marker.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Did anybody not get a banana?
Птицы, рожденные в клетке, думают, что полет — это болезнь, говорил Александр Ходоровский. With this film, I begin a cycle of documentaries about people, birds, who not only fly themselves, but also with their deeds, ideas, professions, give wings to other people. And the first person, my first hero, is Daly, a musician, an Irishman who has been living in Crete for over 35 years. Сейчас в России, на моей родине, идет так называемая пятая или путинская волна эмиграции. Время, когда дом перестал быть домом. Русские люди не согласны с пределом тоталитарной власти, уезжают в другие страны без денег, без знания языков, без подготовки. When the world is ruled by complete madmen, a simple, adequately thinking inhabitant of the planet understands the enormity and absurdity of what is happening. And understanding from another person is at least some kind of consolation. Unity with other people who are not zombified by the state, at least some kind of shelter in this madhouse. Γνωρίζοντας ανθρώπους σε διάφορα μέρη του κόσμου. Ανθρώπους που έχουν έναν πυρήνα στον εαυτό τους και δίνουν βάση. Δημιουργώ μια σειρά ντοκουμεντέρ για να συνεχίσω με κάποιο τρόπο να ζω και να δώσω ένα χέρι σε έναν φίλο σε άλλο μέρος του κόσμου. Этими фильмами я хочу показать, что эмиграция — это не так страшно, что не так тяжело основаться в новой стране, временно или навсегда, что друзья и близкие по духу есть по всему миру. И дом — это там, где есть свобода быть собой. Дэйли как раз один из тех, кто благодаря своей музыке и личности помог мне в моей иммиграции в Грецию, на остров Крит. Daly has traveled the world, mainly in the Middle East, Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent, studying various forms of local music traditions. In 182, he established an educational institution called Labyrinth Musical Workshop, which since 2002 is situated in the village of Kouvetsi, on the island of Crete. Seminars and masterclasses are conducted every year at Labyrinth with some of the greatest teachers of traditional music from around the world. It is a meeting point for musicians and students and is recognized as the leading institution in Greece today, in the field of education of modal and traditional music in general. Daly has released more than 35 albums of his own compositions and of his own arrangement of traditional melodies collected during his travels. Daly is the originator of the term contemporary modal music, which refers to contemporary compositional works which draw their influences and inspiration from the broader world of modal music traditions, which are found primarily, although not exclusively, in the vast geographical region between Western Africa and Western China. Αυτό το ντοκουμεντέρ θα περιλαμβάνει μουσική και διάλογο με τον Ντέιλι, συγκεκριμένα απαντήσεις σε ερωτήσεις από το σενάριο μιας ταινίας του Αντρέη Ταρκόφσκι, «Καθρέφτη». Αυτή η συζήτηση είναι σημαντική για μένα, γιατί όπως είπε η μεγάλη Ρωσίδα ποιήτρια, μετανάστης του 20ου αιώνα Μαρία Τσβετάεβα, η ανθρώπινη συζήτηση είναι μία από τις βαθύτερες και πιο λεπτές απολαύσεις στη ζωή. Δίνεις το καλύτερο, την ψυχή σου και παίρνεις το ίδιο σε αντάλλαγμα.
Okay. I think the most important quality in a person is the ability to be flexible, which means that a flexible person can always try to understand other people and other animals and other beings in general, and is willing to adapt to so that there is a good combination. And so that brings us to the question of unity. Everything positive works in the direction of unity, and flexibility is very, very important in that context. Love is the absence of distance, and it, in its ideal environment, it exists outside of the restrictions of time and space, and that is our destiny anyway. So yes, I certainly agree with that statement, yes. Be patient. I don't remember it.
And the saddest,
I've had many happy days, but I don't remember which is the happiest. I'm not quite sure.
and the most strange or the saddest?
I don't really see things in that way, that this is the saddest or this is the happiest or this is the strangest. There have been sad days, but no sad day is entirely sad. There are also happy moments in it. And no happy day is entirely happy. It's always a mixture of things. So for me, happiness, sadness, these are very fluid things which are in motion all the time. And so I wouldn't be able to say that there is one day which is the happiest or one day which is the saddest, no.
And how do you feel? How do you feel
Terrible.
about
No. Of course, an emancipated person is a good thing, and women are people. They're persons, just like we are, and so any person should be emancipated. Any person should feel liberated and free, and able to do what they wish, and equal to anyone else. There's no such thing as one person who is more valuable than another. So each person has certain capabilities which other people don't have. People are different, and we should be celebrating that difference and not segregating against people based on difference. So within that context, certainly, yes, I don't really perceive any qualitative difference between men and women. They do have differences, of course, but those differences are to be celebrated, not criticized.
And how do you feel about Tolstoy's opinion, who said that it's disastrous for a woman's being?
What did he say?
That being emancipated is disaster for a woman.
Well, I mean, that's a stupid statement. Of course, yes, just as everybody has. And it is a result of misunderstanding. It's a result of not understanding the situation that you're in, and not understanding not understanding the position of everybody in the situation. So unfortunately, all of us have moments in which we are unfair to each other and unfair to ourselves also sometimes. Well, my own personal opinion is that what we call service is actually the highest station that a person can reach. And that, well, human beings, given that they have many capabilities which other animals don't have, when you have extra advantages or capabilities, you're given those extra advantages and capabilities in order to serve the rest of the beings on this planet. So it is actually the position of human beings, and that's their nature, is to be in the service of their natural environment, not to be dominating it, which is what is taught to us, unfortunately, by religions, where they say, you know, multiply and go forth and dominate the earth, which is a disaster statement. No. The true destiny of human beings is to be in the service of their environment, and of course of each other. The grief of an entire people is sometimes a bit difficult to perceive, whereas the grief of people who are immediately close to you is quite acute and quite easy to perceive, and quite a shock in many ways, because you see that right in front of you. Whereas to see the grief of an entire people, you never see an entire people, you see a section of them. But anybody who has even just a little bit of imagination and a bit of ability to perceive beyond just what's in front of their eyes, I think would be certainly affected by the grief of an entire people. I don't think you can compare those two experiences, though. I think they're two related but different experiences. Well, I don't call it anything, actually. It's something which, in my view, cannot be described. It can be experienced, and it is experienced by all beings, and depending on where they put the emphasis in their lives, it can be experienced in a fuller or a less full way. It is the ultimate destiny of all beings, of course, and it's a good idea for them to realize that as early on as possible. No. Once is enough.
Do you want to explain why?
So why not?
Mm-hmm.
Well, watching a rerun of a movie is not nearly as interesting as watching the movie in the first place, or eating food which has been reheated is not the same as eating it when it's been cooked fresh. So, I mean, a repeat of my life would not be in any way interesting, I don't think, because you would know what's going to happen. There'd be no surprises. And without surprises, it would have significantly less interest, I think. Yeah. I remember many things which are bright. I remember the day I realized that I was supposed to be a musician. I remember that when I was 11 years old. And I'd started studying classical guitar, and one morning I suddenly realized that, oh, I'm supposed to be a musician. Okay, that was a really nice day for me. Wonderful. Well, there are many, many things. Falling in love for the first time is also a very big and important issue, an important day. Those are two things which I can point out, I think, yes. My favorite tree is probably a mulberry tree.
Why?
Well, it has very nice fruit. It has very beautiful shade. It produces very, very nice wood. And it's a very pleasing tree to look at. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's got a very nice, deep, dark green color. When was it hard, too hard for me in my life? I think the last years of being at school I found to be very, very difficult and very unpleasant. I never did like school. But how did I manage? I just sort of said, well, this has to end at some point, so I have to continue until it does end. And you just sort of accept the fact that, okay, you have to go through this. It won't go on forever, so you just put up with it for the time being, and it will end eventually. Then you can get on with living your life as you wish. It's sort of indifferent, actually. Watching a train pass, it doesn't really either inspire me or invoke negative emotions whatsoever. It's a train passing. Okay, there it goes. For some people, art is entertaining. For some people, art is a means of expression. And for other people, art is something which can take you beyond the boundaries of yourself. I think that I see that that last view, I think, is closer to what I actually believe. Yeah. I see art as something which, in my case, music, because that's just my nature. That's the art I suppose I know about a bit better than others. It's something which can take you beyond the boundaries of yourself. I think if we're honest, we all have at some point in our lives, and usually we've probably regretted it rather seriously, because your conscience is not a thing which you can compromise with and live comfortably with the consequences of that. So we've all done it, but we've all suffered because of that, and we've all paid a price for it. I don't know if the word proud is the correct word or not, but this is what I believe, that every one of us has an image in our minds of ourselves several steps down the road from where we find ourselves today. So I mean, everybody who's a musician, for example, even when they pick up an instrument for the very first time in their lives, they have a vision in their mind of themselves actually playing this instrument. It's a vision they have. And this vision is useful because it pulls you forward. It's like a goal in a way. It's like a belief that you can actually do it. So that is very positive. What happens, however, is that sometimes people allow that image ahead to go too far ahead, and it makes it impossible for them to accept themselves as they are today. So, and then that creates a serious problem of inability to accept themselves. So I think that what we all have to do is to have an image of ourselves several steps down the road, which is a belief that we can do something, but this must not be too far ahead, otherwise you're unable to accept yourself today. Because just as important as it is to envision yourself down the road, further down the road, it's equally important that you can accept yourself today and appreciate yourself. Not become, sort of, oh, look how marvelous I am. No, that's not good. But to be able to appreciate yourself and to accept yourself is very important in order to be able to go further down the road. No. Who does? No one does. Because who actually knows the truth? I don't think I have an ideal woman. Because an ideal woman would be sort of a stereotype in a way. And stereotypes imply that there is a particular type of person who anybody who fits that description is okay. Whereas I see each individual person as being something quite individual and quite special and quite unique. So I wouldn't be able to apply in any way a stereotype to a person. That would not really work for me. So I think that for me to meet what you would call an ideal woman, I think all I would be able to do would be to meet a woman and to understand and to realize that, oh, this is the person for me. But that would not actually, I wouldn't be able to give a specific description of that person, no. Sometimes, I think everyone is, yeah, sometimes. Well, I think that at the present time in our history as a species, I think it's a big waste of time. We have so many problems down here, and there are so many people who are suffering and who don't even have enough to eat, that we cannot afford to have exceedingly rich and rather vicious governments, actually, chasing after some that they even seem to be thinking of, that we have to go and colonize other planets because they sort of accept the idea that we've basically destroyed this one. That to me is completely unacceptable. If we're in a position to look after the people on this planet and this planet itself properly, then, and we're doing a good job of that, then let us have a look at space exploration. But until we can do that, I think it's a bit of an excessive luxury which we cannot afford.
Okay.
And it's cruel, actually, also, to the people who are suffering down here.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had a desire to be a head of a state, no. I think that if you become the head of a state, the very important thing to do is to help people to understand that they must not look to a head of a state for the solution to their problems. That would be a very good and positive thing to do. Because heads of state, for the most part, not only are they unable to solve people's problems, I think, with very, very few exceptions in history, I don't think they actually care. And they don't care because they can't afford to care. They're not able to see things on an individual, on a personal basis. They just see people as numbers and as big groups of people.
Mm.
And so that makes them rather insensitive to people. So yes, I think it's important that people learn to rely not on heads of state, but on each other. Well, I think if when you're listening to music you manage to forget yourself, that's pretty good. That can give you a much more direct experience of the music, not filtered through yourself. Because I'm a musician, it's not so easy for me to just turn everything off and listen to the music and just to absorb it without any thought process or without some sort of analysis or some sort of attempt to understand what's going on from the point of view of a musician. I try very hard, actually, to when I listen to music, to turn off my musician's thought process. I try to turn that off so that I can just experience it without thinking and without trying to analyze it or without trying to sort of see it from the point of view of another musician. I don't think anybody really can, actually. I think people imagine that they hate. People can have aversions, of course, and they can dislike things quite intensely, but I think hate is a little bit beyond the scope of human experience. Well, I don't believe that people are evil, no. Some people have done evil things. And the strange thing is that many people who have done the most evil things, during the course of doing these evil things, actually believe they're doing something good. I think it's extremely rare that a person is consciously aware of doing something evil. That they always have a way of seeing it, which they imagine that this is somehow positive, or if not positive, at least somehow justified. Something evil will be something in which the person doing it could see nothing positive whatsoever and would be unable in any way to justify. And I don't think a person will be capable of that. Of course not, no. Yes. Well, it depends on the film. I mean, there are some films which are quite openly portrayals of reality. I mean, maybe a documentary or something, or even films which are dramatized productions. Sometimes they're actually attempting to depict reality. But there are other films, of course, which are concerned with a fantasy, or it may be concerned with an allegory, which is showing something which is real, yes, but showing it in a rather unreal way. Yes, I think so. Yeah. Well, it depends what you have to forgive. I mean, if it's a serial killer, it's a bit difficult, Whereas if it's somebody who's just maybe a bit, behaves a bit badly or is a bit rude or whatever else, of course you forgive things like that. But if it's something which is minor, it doesn't cause any serious harm to anybody else. If it's going to cause harm to other people, then, well, I don't think it's really a good idea to forgive that. I mean, there should be some commitment to make a change, to be able to forgive it. Yeah. I think greed is very disgusting because it's an indication of a person who thinks that they deserve more than somebody else, or more than anyone else in many cases. And so a person who is greedy is a person who cannot comprehend or accept equality. And that for me is a big problem. Well, no. I accepted from a very, very young age that having children either by natural means or through adoption is not something which will be part of my life, because what I wanted to do in music, I always knew that that would be very, very difficult, and it would not be fair to have a person dependent on you. And one or two things would happen. I mean, for many years in my life, I had to I didn't accept just any job playing music. I would only do things which I believe in and which I really see as being true. And of course, there are not always that many jobs for you to do when you see things that way. If I wanted to compromise with music and go and play in nightclubs and things like that, I could do that and I could make money and I could support a family. But doing exactly what I want to do without any compromise, no. I would be in a position where I would have people dependent on me, and I would not be properly responsible if I were to insist on doing things according to my own aesthetic and my own understanding. If I were to compromise that for the sake of people who are dependent on me and do things which I don't like doing because I have to feed this person or that person, that would create a certain amount of disharmony in me as well, which would also pass on to the other people. So I knew from a very early age that no, I'm not going to have a family in that sense. In the sense of having, children of my own or adopted or things like that. I suppose you could say that I have, in a different sense, I have many children, and in fact I have many students who studied music with me and who have become musicians. And I see them as people who I've tried and in some cases managed to benefit. Yeah. Today's youth are no different from any other, actually. They have to deal with rather special circumstances. Young people have a fresh outlook on life. They're seeing many things for the first time, experiencing many things for the first time. So I think that which we appreciate in any youth of any generation is their sort of the certain freshness about them that they have, because everything is new to them and everything is a new possibility, which I think that's very beautiful. Well, I think something which is an oddity is something which should be perceived by another person, maybe more than by myself. To me, things which I do seem fairly reasonable, but other people may see it differently. They may see that, well, it's not very reasonable. So they'll see it as an oddity. We all have things in our character which cannot easily be explained, of course. But that may be the result of the fact that we don't want to explain them. And that could happen for many different reasons. So I'm sure I do have plenty of oddities, just like everyone else. But I don't think I'd be in a position to describe them, no. I think everybody is capable of seeing things which are more important than themselves. And so self-sacrifice is what you do when, in the interests of something which you perceive to be more important than yourself, you sacrifice yourself, either literally or metaphorically. So I think to the degree that a person is able to see things as being more important than themselves, which is not an easy thing to do, of course, they are able to make sacrifices of aspects of themselves or of themselves entire. It's one of those things a bit difficult to describe, actually. I mean, it's like being asked to describe the colour red. You can't actually describe a colour. You can perceive it, you can experience it, but you can't really describe it. And I would say that happiness is rather the same in many ways. That, okay, it has many things, aspects which you can describe, but the entire experience is, I think, not possible to describe. If they were happy, but I wasn't able to understand the exact nature of their happiness or why they're happy, as long as they're not happy causing pain and damage, I mean, happy killing people? No, I wouldn't agree with that, no. But as long as they're happy doing things which don't hurt anyone else, I would accept that, yeah, of course. Yes, of heights, yeah, I do have a fear of heights. I don't feel good in high buildings.
And mountains?
Mountains, no, I feel quite comfortable on mountains, but just at sort of cliff edges, sort of straight drops down, those I feel uncomfortable with those, yeah. Well, plenty of things. I mean, I think all of us have things that we do or that we say, or certain of our actions which we feel ashamed of. You know, when you lose control and you do things which you find to be ugly or unpleasant, or if you speak badly to a person one day and without showing understanding to that person, these are things to be ashamed of, yes, yeah. So, yeah, I have plenty of those. The translation was from a poem by Jalaluddin Rumi from Iran. Well, he was from Afghanistan basically, but he lived in Turkey. And in the context of a poem where he's speaking about what life is after death, he says, whoever brought me here will have to take me home. and I'm left with the worst part, yeah?
Yes.
No,
You never thought about it?
no. That seems to me to be ridiculous because, of course, when I was much younger, there's a sort of a young aspect of your life, which is very nice and wonderful. Now I'm considerably older. This year I'll be 70. So there are many things which maybe you cannot do, which you could do, but there are many things which you can do today and things which you can understand and which you could not understand or do in those days. So each era of your life, I think, has equal interest and equal relevance.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do last evening? I was here. I had an online lesson with somebody from Iran, and then I sat and I did some work on some music scores. I then went out and had a meal and came back, and then sort of went to sleep, basically. Oh yeah, because I wake up very early, so I go to bed very early too. Yeah.
You don't celebrate the New Year, change of the year?
Well, it depends. If I'm with other people and they're celebrating it, yes, I'll join in as well. But it's not something which really impresses me very much. I mean, for me, every day is a new year, basically. The fact that we have arbitrarily decided that one day is going to be called New Year, it's nice when you're with other people and celebrating. That's very nice. Sometimes I've been by myself here at New Year's, and so I don't do anything different from what I do any other day. Favorite color? Yes, green.
Why?
I don't know. Two.
What was it?
Well, it was because I was born in England. My family's Irish, and on my second birthday, we left England on a boat from Southampton and travelled to Canada. And I remember that because it was a very impressive experience, seeing this enormous boat. I remember that. That's my first memory. Books. One book which I've always liked very much is, of course I can only read it in translation, is Tao Te Ching. I like that book very much. That's one book for sure. Music, what would I introduce them to? Maybe a piece from Habib Aliyev from Azerbaijan.
Mm-hmm. And painting?
Painting. Painting. Perhaps something, if it's a question of introducing it to children, I think perhaps something from Gauguin. I like his sense of colour. There's no such thing. Greece is a country which is made up of real people, and each one has their own character. Each one has their own. I mean, for me, ethnic stereotypes are a myth for me.
Mm.
There are people of all types in all countries. Yeah. Yes. Every night, lots of adventures. Yeah. I would know if I imagined it accurately if I were to actually go there and see it, and I could then compare what I imagine to what I actually see. Having not been, I'm not able to do that. I would love to go to well, I've never been to Indonesia. I'd love to go to one of the smaller islands in Indonesia. I don't know if my imagination of it is correct or not, though. Make sure to leave room for surprises.
Will you sign it?
I don't sign bananas.
We've got a strict no banana autograph.
This is your banana. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so it was a magic marker.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Did anybody not get a banana? Is het een banana?
Ναι.
Αν προτιμάς μια καρέκλα τέτοια, ό,τι θες εσύ.